Devils got to work early in front of the trade deadline. They want to be active. They should be active. Should be really interesting in terms of rumors and news over the next 3 days as we approach the deadline, setting up to be a fun one. Welcome in to Devils Digest. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button for all things new Devils. Devils, trade deadline, 3 days away. They're already involved. Elliot Friedman had it. Hearing Trent Frederic will be traded to Edmonton to, believe it's a 3-way deal involving New Jersey. It did. Bring it up here. Actually, no, let's bring it up on the big screen. Looks better, right, guys? Boston putting Trent Frederic over there to Edmonton. They retain 50%. Devils jump in. They retain 50% as well. I know your guys' thoughts is why are we being, a facilitator in a deal? Why are we taking on money? We're trying to make a playoff spot. Look, when you look at this deal and, obviously Boston pretty much kind of selling now. Edmonton, they're a Stanley Cup contender. I feel the Devils are a Stanley Cup contender as well. This type of deal for me feels a lot more like something where the Devils just see something where they can go off on the future. You think about how the team's going to look next year. Curtis Lazar's up for contract. Nate Bastian's up for contract. There wasn't so much a deal for right now. I mean, James Nichols reported it. Devils still expected to be a buyer in this market. They just saw a chance where they could go and get a player that they like and kind of fill in for spot next year. Because chances are they don't bring back both Nate Bastian and Curtis Lazar. This feels kind of more so where Edmonton obviously wanted Trent Frederic. They don't want to take on the full cap. Boston was willing to get rid of Trent Frederic. They had to go find a team to go take on some of that cap space. And I'm sure New Jersey, if they didn't like the player, they weren't going to go and take him. They did, though, and I do too, after looking a little bit more into it. Shane Lachance, captain over there at Boston University. 10 goals, 15 assists, 32 games this year. 27 points in 40 last year, playing with Macklin Celebrini. Look, you go out, you get a player. It's just going to be around 500,000 towards the cap. Doesn't feel like a bad thing to me. You're going out, you're getting over, you're starting earlier than maybe the offseason, where maybe you feel like this guy can fit in next year. I mean, you go ahead, you look at him, he's 6'5", 218. He'd be a big boy. 10 goals, 15 assists, 25 points for Boston University, 32 games. This feels like, for the Devils, I know I said getting to work early in front of the trade deadline. This is all just next year. Like they saw it, then they're like, all right, we have to retain a little bit of salary. This is a next year type of thing. It's not so much where the Devils are just saying that, we're not buyers. We're kind of just going to help other teams get better. No. I know you look at Edmonton, you go, oh, that's a powerhouse. Why would you help Edmonton? Worry about your own team. It doesn't really matter what other teams are doing. Like, only one team can win the whole entire thing, and you got to make sure that your situation is good. Your situation's where you want it to be. Your situation is the best fit. Edmonton going out and getting Trent Frederic. I wasn't super big into going out and getting Trent Frederic, so I don't think it's something where you're like, oh, well, we could have maybe put up a better offer than Edmonton. I don't see it that way. I don't think paying for Trent Frederic, a fourth-line center, was the deal the Devils should have went for. The Devils coming in and jumping on it, making it a little bit easier for Edmonton to get him, making it a little bit easier for Boston to flip him over. That was fine by me, especially if they get a young player, 21-year-old, who can fit into this lineup next year where you have two of your fourth liners who won't be playing next year, or possible you got to sign them. So the idea is here, you get ahead of it before the offseason's even around. You're not, I guess, fit into where you have another need at the fourth line with Nate Bastian and Curtis Lazar both needing contracts. Which one they like to bring back, we'll have to wait and see on that one. but the chances of them bringing both of them back tends to be a little bit lower. Now you get a player who's very, very cheap who can be effective on your fourth line. Clearly they think he can be effective somewhere if they're going out and trading for him. I would tend to think that this guy's going to battle for a roster spot next season. 25 points, 32 games. He's a big boy. Fourth line, yeah, that feels good. I think there could be a little bit more physical there. Nate Bastian, not overly physical. Tatar playing there every once in a while, not the most physical player. Kurtis, Lazar, I think, adds a little bit more than both right now at their points in their career. I like the trade. I like it was reported by James Nichols. This isn't something where it's like, oh, well, you know what? They're selling at the deadline. They're not selling at the deadline. They're going to be aggressive. I feel pretty good about saying that they're going to be an aggressive team, especially when you look at the cap situation. Look, they have money to spend at the cap at the deadline. There's money there. Taking in part of Frederick's contract isn't going to make a huge difference. The place where it's going to make a difference is next year, this offseason. Making decisions maybe a little bit easier. Maybe you know a little bit more of what you want to do. A little bit more options. You always want to have options in terms of mostly everything. Options are always a good thing. This creates options. Now, they might have another option if, as we still wait here on the Jack Hughes, if he's going to go on LTIR. We don't really have a report yet. Sheldon Keefe did say this morning that they're still waiting for some tests to be done. So how much they are going to have to be spending at the deadline, that's still up in the air. We know that they're going to have a decent amount, though. We know they're going to be able to be active, and they should be active. They're third in the division. Teams are behind them, and they're catching up a little bit. But this is the team that's third in the division. This feels like a solid team. You have good goaltending. You have a good defense. You have good players down the middle. When Jack Hughes is there, maybe it needs a little bit of that, secondary scoring on the wing. Wing they've struggled at. So with this move, all in total, doesn't change anything that they were going to do at the trade deadline. They're still going to have money to spend. They're still going to have picks to spend. They have assets. They have 3 second-round picks. I doubt they draft 3 times in the second round. They have their first-round pick. It still feels like they are buyers at the trade deadline. There's nothing here that says, oh, well, they're just going to start being a facilitator. No. I know in the past, the Devils have been a facilitator. They've helped teams out. They actually did it last year with the Chris Tanev deal. They went out and they helped some teams out. Completely different position. They were selling off players. They sold off Tyler Toffoli. Completely different position that the Devils were in last season. This year, they're third in the division. The team in front of them, Carolina, they still have to make an idea of what they want to do with Rantanen. Not even an idea anymore. They got to make a decision what they want to do with Rantanen. They have a couple teams chasing behind them, but a completely different position. You're in a playoff spot. You're good down the middle. You have goaltending. There's some needs that need to be done, need to be fixed, but this isn't a team that's like, okay, well, Jack Hughes is out right now. We got to, sell at the deadline. I think even if Jack Hughes is out past the playoffs, this team isn't going to sell at the deadline. They'll still be aggressive. I feel pretty confident in saying that. They'll be an aggressive team at this year's trade deadline. This was just a move. Next year, you have maybe another option at your fourth line. You don't have to, go out, bring back a Nate Bastian, bring back a Kurtis Lazar. You can make a decision on that. You don't have to overpay for your fourth line. I'm big into not putting too much money, too much term into your fourth line. This move right here basically says it all. You don't have to put too much into your fourth line. He can come and play fourth line next year. He's not making anywhere close to $1 million. I mean, this feels like to me a really good, strong move in the future for New Jersey. It's not so much, we're here and we have some injuries. Boston wants to make a trade. Let's go help them out. No. That wasn't like a, thanks, let's do business later on, future considerations. I got you this time, you get me next time. No, it wasn't one of those things. This was one of those things where they saw a player that they liked. They saw a situation they're going to have to deal with over in the offseason, and they just got ahead of it. I mean, that's kind of the GM's job. Go ahead, get ahead of things. That's what Tom Fitzgerald went out and did with this trade. He went out, he got ahead of it. Now, I mean, trade deadline, 3 days away. Devils still in plenty of rumors. Still in a good spot where they sit at the deadline. I know it's maybe not as comfortable as it once was, but in the National Hockey League, it's never supposed to be completely comfortable. Washington sitting up there, 84 points. 3 straight losses, almost lost last night. It's never completely comfortable. The thing with the Devils here is they want to go out, they want to have a good trade deadline, they want to go get a top 6 forward, no matter what's going on with Jack Hughes. They want to go get a top 6 forward. They want that third line center, and they should add a cheap offensive defenseman. That's my thing. I really want to see them try and add a cheap offensive defenseman. I think it'd help the offense out a ton. That's where I feel about it. Let me know what your thoughts is. Let me know what you think of the trade that Devils made today and what you want to see going in at the trade deadline. All right, see you guys.